So welcome to my episode on video game sickness. Now, what do I mean by video game sickness? Am I talking about getting a cold from playing a video game? Absolutely not. I want to talk today about something that I don't see a lot of people mentioning, is playing video games for long periods of time or getting obsessed with video games and becoming kind of ill from it. And I've had some of those experiences for sure in the past. And I'll ask you guys before I begin, have you ever had video game sickness where you played a game for way too many hours and afterwards you just felt physically sick and you felt detached from humanity and it took a little bit of time to get integrated back to reality? Have you ever had those moments? I know a lot of us out there have had those moments. And the reason why I wanted to talk about it today is because I'm coming off playing some of the biggest games of the year and finishing those games. Fire Emblem Engage, Resident Evil 4 Remake, Final Fantasy 16, The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. It's been a heck of a year so far. A lot has been going on. I managed to get through these games and it's been ridiculous. And I just wanted to talk about some of the feelings and some of the after effects of playing these games. It's kind of interesting. That's why I wanted to come do this episode. It's given me a bit of downtime from games because I have played these games and there have been so many hours playing them. I want to say before I get into all of this is that I have really good balance, and I want to say that my wife and my child come before video games any day of the week. They're always here. Video games are here, but I still put in the time for some of these big games. Let's talk about it. So, when I started playing video games in like 1987, when I really started with the NES, I would just play video games all day, wouldn't even think about it, no big deal. Play Mario all day, Final Fantasy all day, Dragon Warrior all day, nothing bothered me. It was all good until my 20s. Then I started to notice that I was really dedicating a lot of time to playing video games, especially with the PlayStation 1 time. There's so many RPGs, I had to delve all into that, absolutely. And I started doing some incredible play sessions in some of these games. I mean, when I look back in some games that I would finish in a week, I still can't believe it. I mean, even Final Fantasy 16, I finished it in a week, which is still ridiculous. And so I started to notice that I was like, wow, I'm really spending a lot of time playing video games. And then into my later 20s, I start to really notice it. This is where it began. Phantasy Star Online was the first game that I've spent like 750 hours playing on my multiple saves with multiple characters, and I loved every second of it because all of a sudden I was playing a Phantasy Star game with all of my friends and we were running around fighting monsters. I got addicted to it. My obsession with it, of collecting every single weapon item in the game, was ridiculous, and I loved it. I can't say enough that I loved it. It was nothing that I was hating on or anything like that, but I just noticed that it was really taking all of my time. And I would come home from work. I remember back in the day, I come home from work about 4 in the afternoon and I get my dinner ready and I play from 4 o'clock to 1 in the morning. And then I get up at like 6:37 in the morning, go to work and come back and repeat. And I just do that over and over. Weekends, I sometimes would give myself a Saturday night off. But that's where I started to notice, man, I'm really kind of obsessed at times with video games. I really get sometimes carried away and all of that. And then the game that really, really got me carried away, I had to bring out the box. I had to take the box off the shelf. Final Fantasy 11. And I don't have any footage of this because I'll never go and play the game again because I got a terrible, terrible obsession because this was an MMO and I'd never done an MMO before. And this took over my life. It took over my life. I was not working at the time. I was a single guy. And all I would do for 12 hours plus a day would be play Final Fantasy at 11. And again, I loved every second of it. But I noticed after a bunch of months, I'm like, I need to get off this game. It's ruining my life. I was getting sick. I was getting physically sick. And I wasn't eating well. And I wasn't drinking enough water. I was just playing the games. And I started to notice that I was getting video game sickness. And I didn't know what that was before. I was like, why am I so ill? I feel, ugh. I come off 12-hour days of this and I feel dizzy. And I couldn't feel connected to reality exactly the same way with my friends. I'm meaning to do with my friends and things like that. I was disconnected from all of that. And I figured this out real quick. I'm like, this is going bye-bye. And I, definitely got off the game, threw it on the shelf, and it was very, very hard. It was such an addiction, and I let it go. I let it go because I knew I was getting very, very sick by it. Now, it's interesting. I've had these over the years with many, many different games that I pushed myself to get through. And again, I got to say, it's all before I ever had a show online. All before I had a show online. And now I have a show online, and I get a game, say like Tears of the Kingdom, and I start playing that game. And I want to talk about this for a sec, is that I have an obligation, number one, to myself as a fan. As a fan. That's the number one thing that I love Zelda games. I finished all of the Zelda games. That I have to play the game to completion. And I have to do that for me as a fan. But I also now, I have to do it because I want to talk about it on the show. So there's double things pushing me there. Myself as a fan, and hey, we need to get this done for the show. And so I can talk about it and all of that. So I found myself with Zelda pushing myself a little harder than I normally would. And I'd sit there on a night, I'd play from like 7 o'clock at night till about 1 in the morning. And I'd just go. And I wasn't wasting time. I was just doing shrine after shrine. It was ridiculous. And when I got to the end of the game, it felt amazing. I felt euphoric and all that, but I was very happy to have the game done. So I could kind of get myself back. And I had the same thing with Final Fantasy 16. I pushed myself as a fan, number one, and as a show, number two. I'm like, I got to get through this game because I love Final Fantasy, and I want to talk about it too. I got to review it. I pushed myself. The end of that game, again, I said to myself, I'm very happy that I got to the end of this game. The ending was awesome. And the game was great. These games are great. I'm not saying that, but the end of it, I just was like, whoa, that was kind of hard. I get to a certain new section, and I'm like, oh man, I need to take a break. I'm like, no, we must do this. So I pushed myself, and I was like, whoa, it was very taxing, And I just noticed that sometimes during some of these things that I get a little bit sick. I'm a little bit sick in the stomach and all of that, and I'm like, am I eating well enough? I'm doing that. I'm very conscious of it now, and all of that, and and I get through some of these play sessions, and I'm like, how did I do that? You know what I mean? And I think some people are like, there's no way he finished that game. I did. I have the emotional scars to prove it. But I want to say that I always have fun. And I want to say that to begin with, I always have fun playing these games. Like starting off the year with Fire Emblem Engage. What a pleasure. But again, I got kind of like obsessed with it and all of that. And I was like, I gotta kind of do this. And you know what? A lot of people in life have different obsessions with many, many things. Some people like rock climbing, and that's all they do. And people they rock climb way too much. And some people can say, hey, you people play video games way too much. You should cut it back a little bit. And I definitely understand that, but it's an obsession, it's a passion of mine, and it's something that I really enjoy. But yes, there is some side effects to it and all of that. But the one thing, and I'm not preaching at you, I'm talking to myself, the one thing that I recommend is putting your family first and putting everybody in your life first before video games, and finding that perfect place for them. And I have the perfect place for them, and I just go for it. But it's so interesting that over the years, sometimes the sickness that comes in when you're on the couch all day and you're not talking, you're just kind of zoned out. You're in this kind of zone. You're in this zone. It's almost like a hypnotic state. And I think video games are like that at times. They're very hypnotic. And you go into like a trance playing them. And I think that's maybe what it is too. You come out of this trance. You're like, bing. And I've been hypnotized. I got hypnotized to quit smoking. And I've been quit smoking for 15 years. So I kind of know what that's like. You just kind of wake up and you're like, whoa, I feel kind of lightheaded. I feel kind of woozy. I need to get some air. And it takes it a little bit to get back to normal and all of that. And yeah, that's some of the things that I've noticed that are some of the side effects of playing video games. And that's a real thing. That's something that you can't kind of say, oh no, it's not. It's not really anything. Video games are good for me. They're like vitamins. And video games are great, and they are a lot of fun, and I think they're really, really good for the brain. I think they're really good for the brain, because like I'm playing RPGs and I'm looking at my stats and I'm like, I got this much experience. I'm always thinking about numbers in a lot of the games I play, and math is not my strongest suit. So video games really keep me, remembering things and going, oh, where am I here? I gotta go here. I think it's also good for the memory and stuff like that. But yeah, for everything, there comes to be a little bit of balance on all of that. But when I look back, I'll say this is my last weird thing to say. I do not regret any of the time I've spent playing video games. Some people would say you wasted time playing video games. You waste time doing anything, no matter what it is. No matter what it is. How is rock climbing better than video gaming? It's all relative, how you look at it and all that. So it's all about balance and figuring out what you want to do with your life and all of that. And yeah, I've never wasted a second playing video games. I've enjoyed my moments. Have I gone overboard? Oh yes. Oh yes, I have. I have gone overboard. But also, I kind of think of those overboard moments and I kind of enjoy them for having fun in the moment and really indulging in a passion and all of that. And I tell you, there's a lot worse things to indulge in life. That is for sure, rather than video games. So guys, let me know down below, have you ever had an obsession with a video game that you played way too much? I know there's going to be a lot of WoW players down below talking, that is for sure. But what about a single player game that you just couldn't stop playing? You became obsessed with it. There's so many speedrunners out there as well. They just play the same game over and over and over and over again. Pete Dorr, I'm looking at you. That is for sure. But anyways, guys, I just want to come in and talk about video game sickness and how it can be an obsession and affect your life. So anyways, guys, until next time.